I'm Liao for TaiwanPlus, here at a military base in Tsai County, where the country's president is visiting troops that could find themselves on the front line in a war with China.
An ex-legislator and a retired rear admiral are the latest figures to be caught up in an investigation into alleged spying for China. A newly renovated baseball stadium, which should have been a home run, strikes out swinging. A couple of rare birds have been spotted in eastern Taiwan, but one is not what it seems. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Liao. President Tsai Ing-wen on Friday visited a combat readiness unit and members of the Air Force in the southwestern county of Jiayi. Tsai said China's military activities in the Taiwan Strait were harming peace and stability. She also laid out her expectations for new national defense measures. Liao reports.
2023 has barely begun, but already President Tsai Ing-wen is making a visit to the country's armed forces. This time she's in the country's southwest, at a major military base home to one of Taiwan's combat readiness troops. These will be the first responders in the event of an armed conflict. Simulating the defense of an airport, the troops practice quick deployment to attack and secure targets together with an unmanned aerial vehicle. A single-rotor drone developed by Taiwan's biggest weapon maker and unveiled late last year, today taking part in drills for the first time.
面对威权主义不断的扩张，唯有持续强化国家的战力跟韧性，我们才能够确保国家安全和利益。
As China's threats against Taiwan rise, so too has the island nation's preparations for war. Tsai has overseen unprecedented military spending and recently lengthened mandatory military service from 4 months to 1 year, starting in 2024.
我们透过模拟战场实景的无人机监侦训练，不仅要强化我们官兵实战化的能力，这也是因应当前的新的战争形态。 那么，如同我先前所讲的，新制上路以后，国军的训练会更精实、更贴近实战，也会更符合现代作战的需求。因此，包括无人机在内的新式武器，未来入伍的义务役依照任务的需求，也会接受训练，符合现代作战的需求。
So 2023 begins much like 2022, with tensions with Beijing the highest they've been in decades, and another visit by the president to troops who could find themselves on the front line in a war with Beijing. The president's message, well, that's staying the same too, that whatever the threat, Taiwan is determined to defend its freedom with everything it's got. Lien and Liao in Jiayi County for TaiwanPlus.
As outlined by Tsai last week, Taiwan is extending the length of its mandatory military service to a year and more than tripling conscripts' pay. But the country's defense ministry says the new salary won't be available from day one. Stash Butler has this one.
Taiwanese conscripts training hard, but for little financial reward. Right now, they get just $210 a month. In 2024, that will rise to $660. But the Defense Ministry says that's only from 8 weeks after enlisting.
他入伍集训之后，他取得了一个专长的证书，他变成说可以领那个专业加级是10190元，所以是他结训拿到证书合格证书下部队之后，他所领的才是20320元，这是有阶段性的一个领跟条件性的一个发给的方式。
The pay deal is one of several details to emerge on Thursday about Taiwan's plan to extend conscription to a year. When President Tsai Ing-wen announced the change in December, the ministry said conscripts would get training with these top-of-the-line Javelin anti-tank missiles. That raised some eyebrows among experts who say equipment like Javelins and Stinger missiles are too expensive for new recruits to use.
It does not make sense at all to train a conscript to fire a Stinger that's worth tens of thousands of US dollars, and only for him to be discharged in 6 months' time.
But the ministry has refuted those concerns and says its plan is sound.
那标枪飞弹概率要实施4周的训练，那同样的，他的部队里面会持续用模拟器的方式来增加他的一个训练的强度。那最后 要做实弹射击化，我们会结合年度的武器射击的流程来做一个射击的训练。
The plans for longer conscription come as Taiwan faces off an increasingly aggressive China. Beijing claims Taiwan as its own and has not ruled out taking the island nation by force. Taipei officials hope more rigorous military training can ward off potential threats and better serve Taiwan's defense. Damon Lin and Stash Butler for TaiwanPlus.
The United States Navy says one of its guided missile destroyers passed through the Taiwan Strait on Thursday. Images show the USS ChungHoon conducting what the U.S. says is a routine transit. It's the first passage by a U.S. Navy ship through the strait this year. The U.S. 7th Fleet said the ship was operating outside of any state's territorial waters. This comes after China claimed last year that it had jurisdiction over the Taiwan Strait. In 2022, the U.S. Navy conducted roughly 10 transits through the Taiwan Strait. A former legislator and a retired rear admiral of Taiwan's Navy are the latest figures to be caught up in an investigation into an alleged spying ring for China. They're suspected of recruiting retired military personnel to travel on hosted trips to the country. Luis Watt reports.
Former Taiwan legislator Luo Zhiming and retired rear admiral Xia Fuxiang leave quickly after being questioned by prosecutors in a Chinese spying case. Both deny recruiting retired military personnel for a Chinese spy ring, but prosecutors still apply to the court to keep them detained.
经检察官认定犯罪嫌疑重大，且有串供、灭证及逃亡之余，已向法院申请羁押禁见。
The allegations against the pair are part of a case that has already seen a retired Air Force colonel arrested. Prosecutors allege the man, surnamed Liao, recruited at least 6 military officers over 8 years to participate in espionage activities for China. Now, prosecutors allege Xia, who served as deputy director of the Navy's Political Warfare Department, was recruited by Law, a former legislator for the small pro-independence party Taiwan Solidarity Union. Law had also been a member of the China-friendly Kuomintang, or KMT, Taiwan's main opposition party. He withdrew from politics after losing as the KMT's candidate for Pingdong County legislator in 2012. He allegedly had frequent contact with China.
委员，你要不要讲一下？因为您夫人说你都是在做慈善，没有发展什么组织。
总军会不会觉得自己是被冤枉的？谢谢。
On Thursday, the pair were released on bail. In the past decade, more than 20 active and retired commissioned officers have been indicted for spying in Taiwan on behalf of China. Military analyst Paul Huang says retired officers still have a lot of status within Taiwan's military, which can lead to potential security leaks.
So it is not uncommon for retired officers, especially at the level of generals and admirals, to go back to these camps to visit their former colleagues and even serve as advisors to current to active service officers and senior leadership, who might see them as assets rather than security risk.
This latest case is still being investigated, but it's only one in a string of spying allegations in recent years that have involved former military personnel. Coming at a time when China is stepping up its military and political pressure, this is sure to be of grave concern for Taiwan's government and armed forces. Asnaya Zhou, Stash Butler, and Louise Watt for TaiwanPlus.
Hsinchu Baseball Stadium in northern Taiwan reopened last year after 3 years of extensive renovations. It was supposed to be a world-class facility, but poor design and construction saw the venue close after hosting just 2 games. Now, Hsinchu's newly elected mayor has shown a light on just how dire the stadium situation is. Ling Zhexuan is a former Major League outfielder. He's a sharp defensive player known for plays that make the highlight reel. He was drafted first when he returned to play in Taiwan's Pro Baseball League. Unfortunately, his 2021 season was cut short when he made a rough landing attempting a diving catch, injuring his shoulder. Injuries are part of professional sport, But Ling's injury could have been less severe or outright avoided if it weren't for the poor condition of where he was playing, Xinju Baseball Stadium. The ground where Ling dove was way too hard and uneven by professional baseball standards. And hard ground is not the only deficiency plaguing Xinju Stadium. In 2019, the venue underwent a 3-year renovation project which cost $40 million. It should have been a home run, but Hsinchu Stadium came out looking more like a swing and a miss. The project was overseen by a local administration run by the ruling Democratic Progressive Party, DPP. But Hsinchu City's new mayor, Gao Hong'an, is from an opposition party, the Taiwan People's Party. And on Thursday, she shone a light on just how dire the situation is. Her administration says it has identified 152 problems with the venue.
如果今天看到这个土壤里面有砖头、有石头、有电线，那我真的觉得这个球员的受伤其实真的不是意外造成的。
These discoveries come at a bad time. Taiwan's national team is about to compete in the World Baseball Classic, an international competition that pits the world's best players against each other. Taiwan is one of the host countries, but don't expect to see bases loaded at Hsinchu Stadium this year.
在球场不安全、没有验收的情况之下，来让国际的选手跟我国的选手去冒这样大的风险，所以很抱歉，我们这一次新竹市不举办 WBC 的经典赛热身赛。
To learn more about Hsinchu Stadium, TaiwanPlus spoke to baseball analyst Vincent Liao, who, full disclosure, is the brother of TaiwanPlus reporter Leslie Liao.
Yes, it is pretty bad. Okay, this stadium opened to a full capacity crowd. This was back in July 2022. Okay, the president was there, everybody important was there. They played a game, and then one player got hurt, and then there were several other players who got hurt during the process, during practice, during the games. Okay, it raised an issue, and then they shut down the stadium.
Liao also weighed in on how Hsinchu Baseball Stadium ended up as rough around the edges as it did.
The original Hsinchu Stadium was built in 1976, and then in 2019 they tore the whole thing down, and they wanted to insert a parking garage underneath the stadium. But when you do that, it drastically changes the design of the stadium, okay? And there's a lot more work you had to do to the field to prepare for that kind of construction. And obviously, the construction company probably didn't do a very good job removing those debris from the old stadium. And it's possible, it's been suggested that they probably didn't remove everything and just bury them right there.
And at a time when international baseball games are set to be played in Taiwan, how will this affect Taiwan's standings with sport authorities like Major League Baseball?
MLB, they're not surprised because this has been going on in Taiwan for the past 20, 30 years. We hosted WBC in 2013. MLB had to send crews here to help Taiwan improve their field, fix up their field. And after 2013, we have what happened now. You know, we still don't know how to fix up the stadium. We still need MLB people to come in here to help us fix the stadium.
Baseball is Taiwan's national sport. Fans here love to root for the home team. But they're not going to be doing that at Hsinchu Stadium anytime soon, because what should have been a grand slam is striking out hard. Don't test the law when it comes to bringing pork into Taiwan. That's the message from the government as the country gears up for the Lunar New Year travel season. Taiwan has a list of areas considered high risk for African swine fever. Anyone bringing banned products into the country from these places could face a fine of up to $6,500. This includes people who buy items online and have them shipped to Taiwan. Last year, the government fined 169 people the maximum amount. Taiwan has asked to take part in consultations with the World Trade Organization on U.S. export restrictions aimed at China. The restrictions seek to limit China's access to advanced semiconductors. Beijing is challenging these restrictions by taking the matter to the WTO. Taiwan says it has a strong interest in the case as it supplies most of the world's advanced chips. Taiwan's Office of Trade Negotiations told TaiwanPlus that its request to join discussions should not be seen as supporting or opposing China's challenge. It said its request to take part is solely due to its interest in the case as one of the world's major suppliers of semiconductors. Electronics manufacturing giant Foxconn saw revenues of $195 billion in 2022, a record high for the Taiwanese company. This is an increase of over 10% from 2021. The record number comes despite Foxconn's December revenue falling about 12% compared to the previous year. The major Apple supplier's largest Chinese factory in Zhengzhou primarily assembles iPhones. The company's fourth quarter operations were heavily affected by China's COVID-19 restrictions there. But the Zhengzhou factory returned to normal operations by the end of 2022, and Foxconn predicts its first quarter revenues will align with market expectations. Taiwan's hotels are preparing for a very busy Lunar New Year holiday at the end of January. But a major shortage of workers means they face a tough road ahead. Efrain Alegre has this story.
This hotel is getting ready for an influx of guests in just a few weeks. As Taiwan's biggest holiday, the 10-day Lunar New Year break approaches, hotels across the country are nearly fully booked. In the southern city of Tainan, around 80% of rooms are booked for the 2nd through the 4th days of the Lunar New Year. It's about the same percentage in Miaoli on Taiwan's northwest coast. They're followed by Hualien, home to tourist destinations like Taroko Gorge, where travelers have booked about 70% of available rooms. But the country's hotels were unprepared for the rush. Many are now furiously recruiting to fill staff shortages in areas like housekeeping. Some are even sending managers and administrative employees to help out.
各部门也需要做这个机动性的支援啊。你行政同仁早上没事，那请你到餐厅帮忙收盘子，收完盘子，请你上去拆床，请你上去收垃圾。主管、老板，大家都跳下去做。
Many Taiwan hotels let go or furloughed a big chunk of their employees in the first 2 years of the pandemic, after international tourists were banned from Taiwan. Now that the country's COVID restrictions have been lifted, the industry is having trouble getting people to come back.
仍然持续是找不到人，主要的分析原因还是因为，毕竟过去2-3年呢，这个饭店业、餐饮业受到疫情的冲击影响，很多人其实已经遭到裁员或失望的这个离开。原来这样的一个行业还没有这个在最近的重返哦，那加上这个刚毕业的年轻人，其实对于这个饭店业这个高压还有高工时的一个工作环境是比较却步的。
Hotels say they cannot afford to attract new workers with higher wages. They add that to boost their staff numbers, the government needs to allow them to hire migrant workers or people in Taiwan on working holiday visas. But there is no quick fix for this issue, so hotels will definitely have their work cut out for them this holiday season. Kama Xu and Efrain Alegre for TaiwanPlus.
Coming up, we find out how one of Taiwan's biggest convenience store chains is committing to help people with Down syndrome.
In the face of adversity, the power of truth.
A roadmap for a just and open world. Charted by the freest country in Asia.
5, 4, 3, 2.
A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Ian Kavat. Taiwanese semiconductor giant TSMC.
Public buses to be electric by 2030.
A mission that begins with listening.
And telling the stories of Taiwan.
In Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Drawing insight from original thinkers.
And sharing it with the world. TaiwanPlus News, a voice of freedom in Asia.
You don't have to run a marathon to get stories from Taiwan and around the world. To do that, just get the TaiwanPlus app. Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. In top international news, U.S. House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy has failed an 11th time to get the votes needed to become Speaker of the House. The GOP majority House of Representatives has been at an impasse for 3 days now. McCarthy needs at least 218 votes to secure the position. But a group of around 20 Republican lawmakers are refusing to back him. It's been over 160 years since the last time the lower chamber of Congress voted this many times to choose a speaker. The U.S. Speaker of the House leads legislative business and is second in line to the presidency after the vice president. The previous speaker was Nancy Pelosi, who visited Taiwan last August, the first visit by a sitting House Speaker to Taiwan in 25 years. McCarthy has previously said he too would visit Taiwan if elected speaker. Russian President Vladimir Putin has ordered a 36-hour ceasefire on military operations in Ukraine for the Orthodox Christmas period. The temporary ceasefire is expected to last from noon on Friday until midnight on Saturday. Kyiv has dismissed the announcement as, quote, hypocrisy. It's been almost a year since Russia invaded Ukraine. In recent days, Russian troops have continued their bombardment of southern and eastern regions of the country. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has stated that Russia must leave all occupied territories before the war can be considered over. Paraguay presidential candidate Efrain Alegre has told Reuters that he will cut diplomatic ties with Taiwan and open relations with China. That's if his opposition party wins the upcoming presidential elections. The ruling party candidate Santiago Peña says he would continue to maintain the more than 60-year relationship between Paraguay and Taiwan. Paraguay is one of 14 nations that still have diplomatic ties with Taiwan and the only one in South America. China has been trying to convince other countries to shift diplomatic recognition in favor of Beijing in recent years. The latest was Nicaragua, which cut ties with Taiwan in December 2021. Paraguay's presidential elections will take place at the end of April. One of the biggest convenience store chains in Taiwan is joining a program that will help people with Down syndrome when they go to the shop. It's the latest in a string of businesses working to make shopping an easier and more friendly experience for the tens of thousands of Taiwanese who have Down syndrome. John Van Trieste has this story.
Convenience store chain Family Mart has more than 4,000 locations in Taiwan, and come February, each one will be certified as Down syndrome friendly. Since last year, Taiwan's Down Syndrome Foundation has been giving resources to businesses like this. That way they can train staff on how to help customers with Down syndrome do their shopping. Already, 3 other chains have put this training into practice. They get stickers to put in their shop windows that let shoppers with Down syndrome know they offer a safe and friendly space. The program's launch amid the COVID-19 pandemic is no accident. Taiwan still mandates masks indoors. This can make it difficult to recognize people with Down syndrome, and so staff might not know a customer has special needs. This has led to at least one misunderstanding. In November, the owner of a fried chicken shop called the police on a customer with Down syndrome who had forgotten to bring money. With the right support, people with Down syndrome can shop without problem.
不可以这样子，要后来给钱拿去才对。
But accidents happen, and the program is meant to offer people with Down syndrome help when problems do arise. One frequent issue is communication. That's why the program trains shop staff to slow down and listen.
因为碰到问题，所以他们不知道怎么处理。暂停了3秒，然后再听他下一句他要表达什么东西，其实你就应该可以判断他是需要你帮忙。
If that doesn't help, staff are encouraged to call one of the customer's relatives or the Down Syndrome Foundation itself. There are 30,000 people with Down syndrome in Taiwan. And with a growing number of businesses taking part in the program, the hope is that they can expect the same respect and courtesy as every other customer. Klein Wang and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Some rare birds have recently been spotted in Taiwan. While bird enthusiasts are excited to see the animals in the country, one actually might be an escapee from somewhere a little closer to home. Eric Liao explains.
A rare bird released back into the wild. This oriental stork was found sick in eastern Hualien County late last year. Its species is endangered, with just a few thousand of these storks left in the world. A local bird rescue foundation took in the stork and nursed it back to health.
医生的判断是可能是失温，因为看起来不像说肉毒杆菌然后是禽流感菌的现象。然后经过第3天吃，OK 的话也放。 结果放出去，哎，不错，它马上就飞走了这样子。
The stork wasn't the only unusual visitor to Hualien. A Laysan duck was spotted in the area as well. These are even rarer than the storks, as they're native to Hawaii, with only about 500 remaining in the wild. The duck's appearance has bird lovers flocking to the area.
刚到火车刚到啊。这种鸟类是不是在台湾是没有过去没有过？没有的，因为它是夏威夷的鸟，它不会迁徙的。
Hawaii is over 8,000 kilometers from Taiwan, but this duck may not have flown that far. In fact, it may be a local resident.
昨天晚上就看到，就是有新闻说，发现了那个稀有的品种，等下就发现那不是就我们家的鸭子吗？这样子，因为它就是长得很特别啊，它的眼睛两边都有白白的一圈这样。
Mr. Tsang says their duck is a local hybrid and ran away around New Year's. He didn't expect to see it on the evening news and hopes that the runaway duck will come home soon. Eason Pan and Eric Gao for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally today, we leave you with images of a parade in Spain's capital, Madrid. I'm Leslie Liao. Take care and make sure you keep your ducks where you need them. See you next time.